think it's a very simple process. We'll first start by allowing the Minister to make his statement, and then we can take questions at the end of the statement. Minister?
Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us this morning for the, I think, our first press briefing. We are joined here as part of the panel by our Deputy Ministers, Deputy Minister Dr. Mimi Kondwe, who has been here for quite some time, for a year now, together with our new Deputy Minister, who's been here for now 19 days, Deputy Minister Nomusa Dube Ngube, Dr. Nomusa Dube Ngube, who is our new Deputy Minister for Higher Education. So thank you very much for joining us for this. A lot of the colleagues have been battling to transition between referring to me as DM or Deputy Minister, because I think I've walked that road for quite some time. You know, and I think it shows, and I don't underestimate the expectation that many have shown on the day and even beyond our appointment together with Deputy Minister Dube Ngube. Over the past 19 days, we have listened carefully. We've engaged with students, lecturers, principals, vice chancellors, researchers, Sitta leaders, labor, organized business, civil society, and government partners. We've engaged with our universities, our TVET and CET colleges, our skills centers, and our communities, and we've listened to the frustrations, the hopes, and the ideas. We have had the calls for a system that works for the people of South Africa, and so today we respond. The truth is that our post-school education and training system remains fragmented and uneven. Too many young people are locked out of opportunity. Too many skills taught are not the skills the economy needs. Too many institutions are underperforming. Governance failures weaken delivery. Funding models remain unstable. Data is incomplete. The system is not coherent enough to guarantee the return on investment that South Africa expects. After 3 decades of transformation, 10 years since fees must fall, and 20 years since our universities and colleges were merged, we must admit that progress, great as it has been, has also been uneven. We must learn from the past. We must fix, of course, that which has been broken, but we must also start reimagining what is possible. We're restating these challenges to re-establish national consensus on the monstrosity of the problem that confronts us, and to remind ourselves, in the spirit of Professors Sibusiso Bengu and Kada Asmal, that nothing is insurmountable. Our work from today will be guided by 6 core objectives. First, to integrate the system into a single coordinated whole. This is important so that none of the institutional forms that we have in our post-school education and training system believe that they are either beneath or above the rest. We have to change in building this single system. We have to change the way in which our universities are big, or that we have big universities, smaller TVET colleges, and even almost non-existent community colleges. Secondly, we have to expand equitable access to all those who can benefit. Thirdly, to ensure responsiveness to the needs of the economy, the labor market, and also of society. Fourth, to raise the quality of provision and learning outcomes. And fifth, to improve efficiency, governance, and accountability. And sixth, to guarantee sustainability in funding, in institutional stability, and also in the confidence of our people. These objectives are anchored in 5 strategic pillars, which are economic renewal and jobs, ensuring that our graduates are employable and our institutions are aligned to growth sectors. A green, just transition, making our skills system a driver of climate change, resilience, and low carbon innovation. Building public sector capacity so that our state is equipped to serve the people effectively. Research and innovation to strengthen our intellectual sovereignty and generate solutions from Africa, for Africa, and the world. And social inclusion to make sure that no one is left behind, whether they live in a rural village, a township, an informal settlement, or a city. To give effect to this, we're structuring our work over 3 timelines. In the next 3 months, we will stabilize the National Student Financial Aid Scheme and set in motion a sustainable student funding model. And to this effect, I've asked the CEO and the chairperson of the National Student Financial Aid Scheme to convene an agent briefing and brief the nation, and in particular students, on the state of NSFAS and some of the challenges that they've been confronted with. But to support their work, we've already started engagement with Treasury in filling some of the gaps that exist in terms of student funding. We will establish the post-school education and training re-engineering task team, bringing together expertise from across sector to guide the redesign of our system. We will strengthen sector education and training oversight, finalize their realignment, and ensure that every Sitta delivers measurable values. I've already asked the National Skills Authority to provide advice on what we need to do on some of the Sittas that they have conducted investigations upon. And in the next few days, we will make announcements to that effect. We will begin engagements with the National Treasury on long-term funding solutions for our sector. We will launch 3 major projects focusing on skills to work transitions, targeting young people not in employment, education, or training. The second one being career choices, which is now known as CARETA, which will target school learners from an early age to guide them into learning and work pathways. And the third one being adult literacy, which will target more than 4 million South Africans who are functionally illiterate. Over the next 12 months, we will pilot autonomous colleges and new CET models to improve agility and responsiveness. Gone will be the days when our college principals and campus managers will have to ask for permission to go across the road to buy a chicken. We want to give them power and authority, but also in a monitored and controlled environment as a pilot, so that ultimately when we hand over some level of autonomy to college principals and TVET college principals, we know that we already know what they are able to achieve with this. We will review the CT landscape to ensure that it plays a meaningful role in community development. This sector represents one of the most important potential for our post-school education and training sector, from programs as short as 120 hours to programs as long as a year or more, helping communities be equipped with basic skills that they will need to navigate day-to-day life, and even to transition into TVET colleges and into universities. We will launch TVET curriculum pilots aligned with emerging industries, and through this we'll invest on our existing centers of specialization to make sure that we strengthen the connection. We will establish a PISA database to improve planning and accountability. And I know that some of you have been concerned at home around students or young people who stays within the Sitta system and also who stays within the PSET system precisely because of the income that some of them may be getting from this. The intention of the database will not be to exclude any of the young people or students who want to benefit from the skills program, but to ensure that none of them receive the same training more than once. We will establish, or as I said, we'll begin the rollout of the National Senior Certificate for adults as an alternative pathway for school leavers, and these will be provided for in our community colleges. We will complete legislative reviews addressing gaps and contradictions that undermine the system. And to this effect, we've already indicated to actors within the system across the board to look forward to engaging with them qualitatively on the pieces of legislation amendments that will be instituting. And of course, details towards this will be made in the next few days. We'll also accelerate infrastructure upgrades and ensure campus safety across the system. In this regard, we will work together with various other government departments to make sure that our infrastructure is sound and conducive for learning and teaching. Over the next 4 years, we'll fully implement a sustainable student funding model. We'll consolidate Sitta, National Skills Fund, and CET reform. And I know that many of you have been concerned about some of the things that have been happening in the National Skills Fund. We have engaged with those who are both the DG and the acting CEO of the National Skills Fund in accelerating the required legislative reforms that we need to put in place in order to effect changes in the National Skills Fund. We will drive digital learning across the system because we believe this represents a huge potential in opening access for millions of young people into the sector. We'll institutionalize career guidance and lifelong learning pathways from school to work to retirement. This is a sector that should take care for everyone from when they enter schooling in their first year to ultimately when they exit or even when they retire, in whatever form or shapes of skill that they may be needing. We'll deepen research and innovation and capacity, strengthen our partnerships with industry, and also expand our presence on the continent and globally. And we'll ensure that our system as a whole delivers a clear and measurable return on the public investment it receives. The 3 flagship programs we announced today will be the spearhead of our renewal. Skills to Work Transitions will connect young people who are out of work and education to structured training and work opportunities with clear pathways to employment or entrepreneurship. Career Choices will ensure that every learner from primary school onwards is exposed to the full range of career options and guided to choose study and work pathways that match their interests, talents, and the needs of the economy. Literacy for Empowerment will tackle one of the greatest barriers for full participation in our democracy and our economy: the inability to read, to write, and comprehend at a functional level, by mobilizing institutions, communities, and technology to reach every adult who need it. To secure the future of our system, we'll set up a multi-sectoral task team to review and consolidate 3 decades of policy and legislative reforms. This task team will learn from the crisis and forced transformations, the Fees Must Fall movement, to institutional measures, and will help chart a deliberate, planned transformation for the next generation. The aim is simple: to build a single, coherent, and high-performing post-school education and training system that is fit for purpose in a changing world. We know that none of this can be done by government alone. We will build a broad national compact for skills and knowledge. We will work with students, staff, labor, business, civil society, and communities. We'll build partnerships that are transparent, that are accountable, and focus on delivery. And we will take this compact to higher education, to a higher education national convention that will convene sometime next year, where the sector and society will set the long-term direction. We have listened, we have understood, and now we act. We will reimagine and re-engineer our post-school education and training system for a changing world. We'll fix that which is broken, but it will also strengthen what works, because we believe that the 30 years since 1994 has been one of the best period for the post-school education and training sector, much better than what our people in general had been subjected to in the past. And we'll build what is missing. We do this because South Africa deserves a system that delivers skills, knowledge, and opportunity for all, and because our future depends on it. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Minister. We are also online, Minister and Deputy Ministers, and I am told that we already have questions, but first I would like to start in the room if there are any questions. No questions, are you happy? Okay.
Okay, Junior Commando from Newsroom Africa. Firstly, Minister, you did indicate that it's been 19 days since your appointment as the new minister. Just how is the morale within the department? Because we know, especially the exit of your predecessor, there were some individuals that were said to have been part of a panel that assisted her. Those individuals say they were not, and there are some who are still in that department. So how's the morale in that department? And secondly, when it comes to the Sitta board chairperson appointment, how far is that process? Because we know it was reconstituted from the get-go because of some of your appointments. And just to the deputy minister, Dube Ngube, you were one of the individuals that were basically earmarked for one of those Sitta positions. And there was an outcry from South Africans around the legitimacy of this process. Just to get your thoughts on, do you believe that you were worthy of that position, or was it an appointment based on your proximity to the ANC? Thank you.
Minister, I'm realizing there are no mics on the table, so I think you may need to come to the podium again. This one is not.
Okay, or maybe we can take more.
Yes. Okay.
Maybe, yeah, one more.
This one? Yes, you may go ahead. Please.
Good morning, Minister. There's been a substantial amount of
Your name? Your name?
Udiri Darabala from YFM.
Okay.
There's been a substantial amount of TVET college students who have been complaining that they haven't been receiving their allowances from NSFAS. And I just need to know what the higher Department of Education is planning to do to make sure that next year, ahead of the new academic year, we don't encounter such problems, because we realized that this year there were students that had to be evicted because they were not able to pay rent or even, sustain their lives by buying themselves necessities like groceries and toiletries. What is the department planning to do? Is there a contingency plan that the department has to mitigate such challenges?
Okay.
Okay. So you want to take Griselda and then.
Good morning, I'm Griselda Lewis from SABC Television News. Good morning, Minister, and all questions. Two questions. One relating to, Minister, you spoke about the skills that students actually need to be able to get into the job market. South Africa has been grappling with the longest time now when it comes to youth unemployment. Having a degree doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be able to get a job. That has been one of the bugbears or frustrations. How fast does that process need to move? In particular, if we look at other countries, even amongst the BRICS countries, there are countries that have moved quite fast to ensure that the skills that young people have speak directly to the economy so that these young people are able to get employment. And just to follow up on my colleague Junior's question, how do we ensure, or first of all, he did ask how far is the process relating to the Sitta boards, but in addition to that, how do you ensure the credibility of that process given what has happened and but certainly seem to have been a dent to the reputation of the department. Thank you.
Okay. All right, maybe let me respond to this before some of the questions repeat themselves. Is it fine? Yes, with regards to the, let me start with the Sitta boards. The nominations have since been closed. For the chairpersons, the nominations have since been closed. The team in the department is looking through those nominations to look at who meets the criteria. And from those who have been nominated, we will then apply our minds in terms of who fits, the positions required. We're going to make sure that people have the skills and the capacity to be able to preside as chairpersons of Sitta boards. That is for us the most important criteria. We are quite considerate of the fact that, and rightly so, that the public would be looking at this closely, and we will not hide anything. And I think what has happened in the past has been exactly lessons. I don't know if Deputy Minister Dube Ngube feels that she should respond to the questions relating to this, but I must say that the decision initially to get her appointed was not her decision. And similarly, the decision to appoint as Deputy Minister is not her decision. And I don't know if we should really ask her to defend decisions that were not hers. So we will act swiftly in making sure that we close the process as it relates to the Sitta board's chairpersons. We've opened up nominations briefly for the additional members of the accounting authorities, because some felt that they were prejudiced by the requirements for masters and PhD, and so we have opened that window so that they can apply, especially the labor and community representatives. The morale in the department, it has got nothing. Well, it has probably partly to do with with what has happened recently. But what I must say is that I've met with the DG, I've met with the Deputy Directors General, the Chief Directors. I've also met together with the Deputy Ministers, the entire staff. And our message is simple and straightforward. We have to get the department working. We have to make sure that the department is responsive to the communities out there. We have to make sure that we restore the trust deficits that may have been created by what has happened in the past on the department itself. And so part of the things that we're doing to engage with stakeholders, together with the deputy ministers, students, workers, and so on and so forth, as I indicated. Some of them who had indicated that they've been looking forward to these engagements has been helpful in helping to restore the relationship between the ministry and our department together with those stakeholders. So moving forward, we're going to be working together with the entire team at the Department of Higher Education and Training to make sure that we deliver this under the leadership of our DG. As I said in the statement, we have asked the NSFAS to convene a press briefing to include some of the challenges with regards to payment and what they're doing about that. And so I think we need to wait for that. The question around skills, I think that's very important. And just briefly, we have an education system that is heavy at university level and quite lean when it comes to TVET and community colleges. We need to turn that around. And it's going to take a lot of courage and reimagining how the sector looks. There are certain bottlenecks that we need to unlock with regards to university education. with regards to TVET education themselves. I mean, for instance, one of the major concerns that we've had when we're listening to constituencies and communities is our expectation of someone who passes their grade 12 and still be expected to repeat some of those programs when they re-enter the system through the TVET colleges. And that's why we're moving with speed to strengthen some of the work that has been done in the form of centers of specialization, in the form of occupational trades, in the form of phasing out the end courses, so that we match the value that comes into TVET colleges. We believe that a lot has been done to put in the face of South Africans technical vocational education and training institutions. But this can also only succeed if we direct our resources where our policies are and where our intentions are. And that's how we can be able to unlock the potential for skills that are linked to or transitioning towards work. That is by investing our resources into TVET colleges. Similarly, investing our resources into community colleges to get people to learn how to spray paint cars, to fix cars, to be bricklayers. Those short-term programs, which holds a huge potential of absorbing young people into construction sites, of absorbing young people into our energy transition programs. And we would be having a launch later on in the year, and I think we'll give you more details. That we have to have young South Africans being the one at the front line when those jobs become available. And that's the type of training that we believe we need to redirect our system towards. Okay.
Any more questions? Okay. This one and that one and that one. Go on the line.
Thank you so much, Minister. Francis from Progressive Independent Talk Radio TV. I am so sorry for coming late. We're still stuck with the tariff briefing. My question is, in the year this current year, 2025, 2026, so to say, as part of your post-schooling interventions, having some students placed in other countries, how many do you have so far? And I don't know if you have dealt with that in your presentation. How many do you have holistically? I know, for example, with China, with the Beijing Polytechnic College, there are about 100 or 106 that are supposed to be there now. And in a month's time, also another 11 South African students will be going to other provinces of China for that, on top of the 111. But in the whole world, maybe how many have you been able to place? Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. I don't have the figures now, but what I can tell you is that we are going to consolidate our international work, especially in terms of our scholarships program. The department has suggested that we place it at a ministerial level, and we'll look at the details on how we can expand that program so that there is impact, but it also directed at meeting our country's national interests. So, but the details in terms of the numbers, we can give you those later. I know on just last week, the DG was sending off about 350 students, into Europe. So there is a huge number of South African students who are studying abroad, who are studying on skills that we need as an economy. Yeah.
Next question, please.
In two of your timelines, you talk about the NSFAS and the student funding model as a short-term and as a long-term situation that needs to be fixed. Is NSFAS failing in its current state, would you say? And then secondly, you talk about this 3-month deadline, right, to fix NSFAS and the briefing with the CEO that will happen. But what is the actual plan? Because we've heard all of these things before, and I mean, I imagine you would know as well, that we've heard these sort of issues that have been brought up, but what actually is different? What is the actual tangible plan on the ground? Because I'm pretty sure if you go and speak to accommodation providers, for example, they will basically pour water over this briefing because it's stuff that they've heard before. Is there anything different? Is there anything tangible that you speak of?
Next question.
Minister, at the back of my what is the actual plan? That's one. Minister, you are emphasizing on the short skill, the TVET college skills. What is happening in the sector right now is that about 80% of TVET students that come from government institutions don't translate into employability, which means the artisan sector is not really accepting them as the skills that they need. So how is that going to be dealt with? Because there seems to be a miscommunication between the sector and what government is offering at TVET colleges. Something is really not going right in that. Then, Minister, looking back at NSFAS again, there's been a systematic decline in funding of essential programs. These are CA, medicine, I think also some engineering programs at university level, and programs that relate to the physics and mathematics. And these are skills that are essential for the development of our country, including development of nuclear and so forth. So then why is NSFAS really taking away those funds that are needed in those particular programs for the investment of the country's future? Or is it a case of you just not finding the money? Thank you.
Oh, sorry, just one more. Junior Commando again from Newsroom Africa. Oh, sorry. Minister, there's also been allegations around the marking discrepancies when it comes to UCT. A former professor who's come out from UCT approached your department as well as the presidency, basically claiming that white students are being given higher marks as compared to their black counterparts. How far is that investigation, Minister? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the questions. Firstly, as I've indicated, well, I think two responses to that questions. Earlier early in September, we will hold an extensive briefing that details our plan for the 2026 academic year. And that detailed briefing will include our plans as it relates to the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, but also in terms of, I think, the bigger question as to how are we, going to prepare ourselves, given some of the challenges that, some of you have spoken about that we have at NSFAS, but also at the institution. So that's the first part. The second part is that the leadership of NSFAS will communicate. But what we want to communicate firmly is that we'll do everything in our powers to support them. I think someone asked the question: is NSFAS failing in its duty? There's no denying that there's been fundamental challenges at NSFAS. If you look at the last years, we've had, I think, almost 9 CEOs, if I'm not mistaken. Administrators have come in and out. We've had changes in the administrative, in the board. We've had allegations of corruption. The Special Investigations Unit has been investigating various cases of corruption and so on and so forth. And yes, of course, so there has been challenges at NSFAS, and there's no denying that. But what we shouldn't also deny is the fact that 800,000 students, as we speak, have received their allowances. And I'm not saying this to suggest that the other students who have not received their allowances are not being failed. And that's what we will work on fixing. And that's what we've instructed NSFAS, to fix. But at a broader level, if we continue the way we're continuing in the current form of student funding, we believe this form is definitely going to collapse. And therefore, we have to relook at the current student funding model and look at what alternatives exist out there, including the question that I think you're not raising, which you should raise, as to if we're constrained in terms of resources, what type of skills should we prioritize? What resources should we mobilize from our Sittas, from the National Skills Fund, to prioritize those skills that we are talking about? And I think the last point being that we've had an exciting meeting with business, and we've said to them that we can only provide the skills which they require if they work with us in making sure that the system is able to adapt to the changing demands of our economy and so on and so forth. Now, what does this mean? It means that the projects that are already existing, which have been as a result of our initiative of our leadership in the department and in the TVET sector, our centers of specialization, and so on and so forth, that we have to invest into that work to make sure that business also comes on board and help us in training for the skills that they require. And that's the only way within which the skills to work transition can work. One of the biggest challenges that we've had, and that's why we're setting up the task team to help us learn the lessons from the past, is that with our focus on incentivizing research, most universities, traditional universities and comprehensive universities, have basically weakened in terms of training of our engineers. And it has to do with a whole range of other factors. And so that's one thing that we'll have to look into. Yes, there is no skill that should be regarded as unnecessary. And I hear people saying, but you're training a lot of human resource development practitioners, and so on and so forth. We should be training this or that other skill. All skills are important. But what is even more important is for us to create the best balance to respond to our economic needs as a country. So those are some of the things that we will obviously be looking at. With regards to UCT, I've spoken to the Vice Chancellor, and they've written to us. They've asked that we, instead of that we lead in terms of the investigations into this matter, and we're looking into the practicalities of all of that. I must emphasize that such allegations are quite concerning, and that we will not brush them aside, and that we will go deeper into it, because they go into the root of the credibility of the system. So I'm quite excited with the fact that the university was not defensive. The university was prepared to open themselves up for investigation, and that if there is a need for consequences, they are prepared to make sure that those are followed. And I'm really excited with the work that the university is doing and the kind of message that they've been sending in this regard. Okay.
Thank you, Minister. I think we can take an online question. I'm not sure who's reading. Okay. Thanks, Bakalile. Okay, let's take two, and then we'll see for now.
The South African Student Federation has made attempts to engage the Ministry of Higher Education on the NSFAS payment, the funding of the students, and eviction of students. What is the minister's plan on this issue? Second question.
Can't hear at all.
Can you please be a bit louder?
And repeat the first question.
Is the minister happy with the performance of the NSFAS CEO and the board, or is there an urgent need for a turnaround strategy there?
Please repeat the first question.
The South African Student Federation has made attempts to engage the Ministry of Higher Education and NSFAS delay payments, funding, and
some student evictions. What is the minister's plan on addressing these issues?
All right. Yeah, I think we've spoken to that with regards to the statement on the concern of the South African Students Federation. That's the and then with regards to the CEO and board of NSFAS, I met with the board, the whole board of the NSFAS, and had several separate meetings or joint meetings with both the chair and the CEO of NSFAS. I've also had engagements with, as I said, with the sector and some, including the students. For instance, have raised concerns around representativity issues, and of course, that's something that we will, have to look at. But based on the plans that the board have shared with us, we are quite confident that if they follow through to those plans, because plans can be one thing, and the actual implementation is another. And as I said, that I think they will be making, briefings as it relates to some of the immediate challenges that that have been raised. So we have confidence in the leadership of the NSFAS, and we continue to encourage them and support them in what they do to make sure that. They achieve the mandate. I'm aware that they will be looking at people to replace or rather to fill in the CEO vacancy and various other senior management vacancies. And we hope that they will get people who are capable of the task that is required. We need a stable NSFAS. Everywhere where we go, student accommodation, it's NSFAS. Student allowances, it's NSFAS. And we do not intend to be the Ministry of NSFAS. We intend to be the Ministry of Post-School Education and Training. And so that's why on top of our agenda is not only fixing the immediate challenges, which they will brief you about, but also looking at long-term sustainability of the fund itself. Okay?
Third question from Lerato. Is there any hope for students who applied during the TVET cycle window but enrolled in universities to get funding? Fourth question. When will students' financial and academic data from DHET and SARS be sent to NSFAS, since statuses are stuck on requesting financial and academic data since January?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Fifth question. Will those with approved appeals get their funding? And last question from Narato. When will registration template system open for provisionally funded students?
Okay. Ishmael, do you want to take those? And then just look at those the rest of the questions, because it looks like they will mostly be NSFAS related. But just take the ones that have been read out and some of the questions which have been raised here, and then we can wrap it up.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you very much, Deputy Ministers. I think I see a hand, because we promised them an hour, Minister, and it's not yet 11. Maybe we should just take one or two.
Okay.
Minister, I just received a text from the National Student Council for Students with Disability, and it seems they basically are likely to ask, when is NSFAS going to fund devices that are needed for students who have disabilities, specifically assistive devices? Because the year is I'm guessing the year is already about to end, and some of them have not even received the prescribed laptops that they need.
Okay.
Ishmael?
Minister, thank you very much, DM, DMs and DG. Colleagues, perhaps let me start by answering the question from Udiri regarding the TVET college student allowances. On the 5th of May this year, NSFAS released a statement regarding the transitional arrangements that affected payments of TVET college students, primarily as a result of the moving away from direct payment allowances partners to NSFAS. It had its own technical problems, which were resolved at that particular time. And immediately thereafter, allowances to TVET college students were paid. In instances where allowances have not been paid, we are still battling with accounts of students who are not updated, because we do our reconciliation after each and every transaction that has been approved for payment. So we want to appeal to our students to check their bank accounts details, update them, so that they can receive their outstanding payments. And broadly, regarding the issues of allowances, both personal allowances and accommodation allowances, we do have our payment schedule that we have communicated very well to the sector. And when we pay, when should we receive invoices, particularly from accommodation providers. There are those who have been cooperating with us very well, and the allowances of accommodations were paid to those, and those that have not been subjected to those processes, we're still battling. However, we do as well have challenges of inflated invoices that we are dealing with, and this is where we are battling to conclude some of the allowances that have been paid. So we are working very well with the associations and the accommodation providers themselves to deal with those. I must say, Minister, we are very grateful that the issue of the budgets are looked at, because indeed we had problems with 3 categories of allowances to be paid this year. We had an instance of those students who applied during the TVET dispensation, which got affected by the allowances for 2025, and those that applied late also got affected, and also those that appealed to NSFAS. Now, due to the budgetary constraints, those 3 categories of students were subjected to delays in payments. Now, the commitment from the minister and the department is that that is going to be looked at, and we are very grateful as NSFAS regarding that. With regard to assistive devices for disabled students, as part of the allowances that we pay to our students living with disabilities, these are included. Now, if there are those that are affected by non-payment, we would look at those, and we encourage them to directly contact us so that we can work with them to ensure that this is resolved. We remain committed, Minister, to ensure that the turnaround strategy and the plans that the board have committed to gets implemented for the betterment of all NSFAS applicants. Thank you very much.
Yes, you must go and convene your press conference.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much. I'm going to take the last one, the last question, and then we can wrap it up.
We have 14 questions left from online.
Unfortunately, let's see what we can take.
This is Koketo Pasha from IOL. Ministers and government officials always announce plans, but don't often come to life. How soon can we expect to see these changes? On the point of the improved student funding model, what changes are you going to make to the current model? So many young people have lost hope of getting tertiary education
education due to getting rejected on the basis of space? Could we see you spearhead the expansion of campuses and or the building of new institutions? The next questions are from Tamar Khan at Business Day to the Minister. How do you intend to fix the funding crisis triggered by the Trump administration's cuts to science, which have hit research-intensive universities such as TVET and UCT particularly hard? Why do you need another review of student funding for higher education? Didn't the higher commission do just that? Next question is Angile Tsotesi from East Coast Radio and KZN. Is the minister aware of the 400 million rand construction project that allegedly has been halted at Durban University of Technology due to the project consultant that may have been allegedly operating without a permit? One, what measures will your department take to ensure the timely completion of the 400 million rand construction project at Durban University of Technology? And what support will be provided to the university to resolve the permit issues? Second question, how will your ministry ensure that students at Durban University of Technology are not negatively impacted by the halt in construction, particularly in terms of infrastructure development and learning environment?
I think let's pause there and allow the minister to respond.
Okay, that's quite a mouthful. And let me start. Okay, firstly, we have the G20 Education Working Group that we're working closely with the Minister of Basic Education to make sure that we drive its outcomes so that they meet our national interest. And included in those discussions, yes, there are issues around recognition, mutual recognition of qualifications, and so on and so forth. But included in those discussions, is the question of our own sovereignty. I've raised the point in the press, in the statement, that we're going to be looking at our sovereignty as a nation as it relates to our research and development. And to that extent, we will be making briefings. There was work that the previous ministers had already started, working together with Treasury and with planning, monitoring and evaluation, so that we can be able to cushion the impact of the executive orders from the United States that withdrew funding. And maybe just to also, get us to understand that this is not just research funding for its purpose. It's mostly research funding that was targeted at health and resolving some of the health problems that not only South Africa and the continent face, but the whole world. And so we looking at mobilizing government resources through interdepartmental cooperation, so that we secure that funding. So I think that briefing will be, going to cabinet soon, so that we get direction on what needs to be done. Secondly, we have been informed and are aware of the allegations as it relates to Durban University of Technology. It's not, and that I'll be looking forward to a meeting with the council to get a briefing on progress as it relates to the implementation of some of the reports, investigations reports on those issues. And I must emphasize that linked to this is our commitment to make sure that there's clean governance. Most of the universities, the allegations against corruption have got absolutely nothing to do with learning and teaching. It's about infrastructure, it's about buildings, it's about supply chain management that are only consequential as it relates to issuing of qualifications. Our function as a Department of Higher Education and Training is to teach is around knowledge, is around skills. And I think it's quite unfortunate that we've had all these reports that relates to, bad governance, and that's something that we will be looking at, as we said in the statement. With NSFAS, the 2017 resolution to introduce fee-free higher education was just but one element of the HEHA Commission recommendations. And I think we need to look at the entirety of those recommendations. And that's why part of looking at sustainable student funding model means looking at the HEHA Commission's recommendations in their totality without nitpicking one of those resolutions. If we continue implementing it as it was introduced in 2017, it is unsustainable. And so we'll have to look at ways within which we have a sustainable student funding model until such time that our national fiscus can be able to carry the number of students who demand post-school education and training, and I think, or until such time that our economy grows, and people graduate out of the band of NSFAS. Plans with timelines, they say, ministers announce plans without. I think this is probably a different case. If the person who asked the question, I think they were from Independent Online. If they were exposed to something else, if they go through the statement, this is completely different. I think we said what we're going to do in the next 3 months, what we're going to do in the next 12 months, and also what we're going to do in the next 4 years. But we're not ending there. So the task team that we said we're establishing, part of the things it will look into is beyond the 4 years, is to work with the National Planning Commission, to work with everyone within the sector, to start thinking about what happens beyond, the term of the government of national unity. So I think it's important that we emphasize that there's nothing wrong with planning, so we shouldn't problematize planning. And I think in this case, planning is even more important given some of the challenges that we anticipate the sector may face. I will not be having done justice if I do not emphasize this, because together with the deputy ministers, we want to emphasize this, that we are going to be going out and engaging. We've started with engaging with people within the sector. We will be communicating quite frequently on the work that we're doing. We expect that we will get your support, and your support doesn't mean that you will agree with everything that we do and say, but to help us to rebuild trust, to help us to rebuild relations, especially with South Africans who stand to benefit greatly from the work that we do. We've had commitments from our DG and the team at the department that from now onwards, our focus is to make sure that our department work. We've met with various people within the sector. We've met with Sitta CEOs. I saw one of them is there. We met with vice chancellors. We met with students, with college principals. We met with almost everyone, within the sector, and all of them are very energized about the potential that this sector has. And it's not even about doing new things. It's about doing what we've always planned to do, but doing it much better. And therefore, as I said in the statement, in the spirit of the late professors, Professor Sbusiso Bengu and Professor Kada Asmal, who laid the basis and foundation for the post-school education and training sector, we believe nothing insurmountable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. I think we've come to the end of the briefing. Deputy Ministers. Okay, I think let's take the questions out of the briefing that are left online. The minister and the deputy ministers are available, as well as the DG will be available to take the questions. I think let's take it that way. Thank you very much, colleagues.